My name is James, and I learned the hard way that sometimes the people you welcome into your family will be the first ones to push you out of it. I raised my daughter, Emily, alone after her mother passed away. She was my pride, my purpose, my reason to keep going when life got bitter. So when she met a young man named Ethan, I wanted to believe he was good for her. The first time we met, Ethan gave me a handshake so limp it felt like he didn't even want to touch me, but I ignored my instincts. Emily was glowing every time she spoke about him. She said he was smart, caring, ambitious. I wanted to trust her judgment, even though something in my chest whispered otherwise. Fast forward to the wedding day. Emily was stunning, beaming with happiness. But Ethan? He seemed more focused on controlling every detail than on celebrating love. Still, I kept my mouth shut. It was her day, not mine. But right after the ceremony, before the reception even started, something happened that still sits like a stone in my stomach. Ethan pulled me aside, his jaw tight, eyes colder than winter. "James," he said quietly, "now that Emily and I are married, I think it's best if you keep your distance." I blinked, thinking I misheard. Distance? She's my daughter. He leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "She belongs to me now." Belongs. The word tore through me. I wanted to grab him by the collar and remind him that Emily was a human being, not property, but I stayed calm. Emily walked over just then, smiling, slipping her arm around him. She had no idea what he'd just said to me. I forced myself to smile back. For the next few months, calls from Emily got shorter, messages got rarer. When I visited unannounced, she looked nervous, like she was hiding something behind her smile. Ethan always hovered behind her, hand on her shoulder like a warning. Then came the phone call that pushed me over the edge. Ethan called himself, not Emily. "James, stop showing up. Stop calling. She doesn't need you anymore. You're only making things harder." My hand tightened around the phone. Does she want me to stop? He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. But what Ethan didn't understand was simple. A father never abandons his child, not willingly, not quietly, and definitely not because some entitled son-in-law demands it. He wanted me gone. Instead, I decided to return. Not with anger, but with the truth. Because whatever was happening inside their home, it wasn't love. And I was going to uncover it. My name is James, and the night I realized my daughter was in danger was the night everything inside me shifted. It started with a voice message. Short, shaky, barely audible. "Dad, can we talk?" Just 7 words, but they carried fear. The kind of fear Emily had never shown me in her entire life. I called her back immediately, 3 times. No answer. Then I texted. Nothing. It felt wrong. Too wrong. So I grabbed my keys and drove straight to her house. I didn't care what Ethan had said. A daughter's fear overrides every order. When I reached their street, all the houses were dark except theirs, a dim light glowing behind tightly closed curtains. I parked down the block, heart pounding. Something felt off. The air felt heavy, like the silence itself was warning me. As I walked towards the house, I heard it. Crying. Soft, muffled, like someone trying not to be heard. My stomach twisted. I followed the sound to the side window, the only one where the curtains weren't fully shut. I hesitated for a brief moment. I wasn't a man who snooped or spied, but this wasn't spying. This was survival. I looked in. Emily was sitting on the couch, hugging her knees, shoulders shaking. Her left arm was red, like someone had grabbed her too tightly. Ethan stood over her, face twisted in anger, pacing like a predator who hadn't had enough. His voice cut through the quiet. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You think you can speak without permission? Don't make me say it again." Say what? Again. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. My fists curled on instinct. Every part of me wanted to break that door down and drag her out. But then something unexpected happened. Emily lifted her head. Her eyes found mine through the narrow curtain gap. Her breath caught. Fear flashed in her expression, not fear of me, but fear of Ethan noticing. She shook her head just a tiny bit. Go. Not safe. I stepped back, heart tearing apart, feeling like the worst father alive for not being allowed to help. I walked to my car, fists trembling, every instinct screaming to go back. But when I opened my door, my phone buzzed. Another voice message. Emily. Dad, don't come here again, please. Not when he's home. Not when he's home, meaning she wanted me there, just not when the monster was awake. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just controlling behavior. This was abuse. And Ethan had been hiding it behind polite smiles and expensive suits. But he made one mistake. He forgot who I was. I was her father, and I was coming back. Not alone, not unprepared, but with evidence that would destroy him. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful life lessons and true-to-heart stories. My name is James, and once I knew what Ethan was doing to my daughter, I couldn't sleep. I spent the whole night pacing my living room, replaying her message and the image of her shaking on that couch. I knew I couldn't confront him head-on. Not yet. Abusers thrive in the dark. They twist the truth, manipulate, make the victim question reality. I needed something undeniable, something no one could talk their way out of. I needed proof. The next morning, I went to an electronics shop and bought a tiny voice recorder, the kind journalists use during interviews. Slim, black, easy to hide. I also bought a small pen-shaped camera. Not spy gear, but close enough. I didn't know exactly how I'd use them yet, but I knew I would. Around noon, Emily finally replied to my messages. Just one line. Dad, I'm okay. Don't worry. She wasn't okay. The trembling in her voice last night was real. The bruised red mark on her arm was real. And her fear? That was the most real thing of all. I texted back, let's meet, somewhere public. It took her 20 minutes to answer. Coffee shop on Elm Street, just 10 minutes. As soon as I walked in, I spotted her in the corner. She looked smaller somehow, tired, the spark she always had in her eyes, gone. When she saw me, she forced a smile and stood up to hug me. Her arms were thin, too thin. We sat. She kept checking the door every few seconds. He's not coming, she whispered quickly. He's at work. I only have 20 minutes. Emily, I said gently, tell me what's happening. She swallowed hard. Dad, I just need you to stay away. He gets angry when he sees us talking. He thinks you tell him things. If he thinks you're interfering, it gets worse. Worse. The worst word a father can hear. I leaned forward. Emily, has he hurt you? Her eyes filled instantly. Tears she tried desperately to blink away. I'm fine, she whispered. It's not what you think. It was exactly what I thought. But she wasn't ready to speak the truth, not out loud. She had been conditioned, intimidated, silenced. So I let her talk about other things, work, cooking, her garden that she didn't have time to tend to anymore. But the whole time I kept noticing her flinches, the way she held her sleeve down, the way she checked the time every minute. When she finally left, giving me a quick, shaky hug, something dropped from her bag. A small sticky note. I picked it up. On it, in tiny handwriting, he checks my phone. That was all I needed to know. She couldn't talk, so I would. And I had just decided how to get the first recording, the first crack in Ethan's armor. The truth was coming, and Ethan wasn't ready. My name is James, and once I realized Ethan monitored everything, I had to get smarter. Abusers are like shadows, always watching, always listening, always ready to twist reality. So I set a trap, one he'd walk straight into without realizing. I called Ethan. Yes, I called him. He picked up on the second ring. "James," he said sharply, "why are you calling?" His tone made it clear he wasn't pleased. "I need to talk," I said calmly, "face to face." He snorted. "We have nothing to talk about." "Actually," I said, lowering my voice the way men do when discussing something secretive, "it's about Emily." The line went silent for 3 full seconds. Then his voice returned, cautious. "What about her?" Hook. Line. Sinker. I said, "Meet me at the park near your house. Now." He hesitated, then agreed. Perfect. I took the tiny pen camera, already recording, and clipped it inside my jacket pocket. The voice recorder went into my shirt, hidden under my collar. When Ethan arrived, he looked annoyed, irritated, but also curious. "What's this about?" he demanded. I pretended to look around, nervous. "Let's walk." We moved toward a quiet path. Birds chirped overhead, kids played far away by the swings, an ideal setting for a conversation meant to expose a monster. "I talked to Emily today," I said casually. He stiffened. "I told you to stay away." "I know," I replied, "but she reached out." His jaw clenched. Good. He was emotional. Emotional people make mistakes. "What did she say?" "Nothing much, but she seemed scared." He scoffed. "Emily is dramatic. She exaggerates everything." I tilted my head. "Even the bruise on her arm?" He froze. In that moment, the truth cracked through his mask. "What bruise?" he asked too quickly. "I saw it. I heard her crying last night." His eyes widened slightly, not with guilt, but with rage at being watched. "You were spying on us?" he hissed. "I was checking on my daughter." "Your daughter?" he repeated, stepping closer. "She's my wife. You don't get to snoop around my house. You don't get to interfere. Emily is under my responsibility, my control." Control. There it was. The word he never meant to say out loud. "And if she steps out of line," he continued, "I fix it. That's what a man does." I kept my face steady, even though inside, every muscle in my body wanted to break him in half. Instead, I asked one quiet question. "Did you hurt her?" He didn't deny it. He smirked. "She needed discipline." My heart tore open. But the pen camera in my pocket, it captured every word. Ethan walked away from the conversation smug, thinking he'd intimidated me. But I walked away knowing I'd just captured the first weapon I needed. A confession. The truth was now recorded. And this was only the beginning. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful life lessons and true-to-heart stories. My name is James, and the day I saw my daughter break was the day I became a man with one mission: destroy the evil hiding inside her home. I called Emily the next evening, telling her we needed to talk somewhere private. She sounded nervous, but she agreed to meet me at my house, the only place where Ethan's eyes couldn't follow her. When she walked inside, she looked exhausted, not physically, emotionally, like she'd been carrying a secret too heavy for her small shoulders. "Is he home?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "He thinks I'm getting groceries." She sat on the old couch, the same one she used to jump on as a little girl. And something about the sight of her there, fragile and silent, nearly broke me. "Emily," I said gently, "you don't have to hide it anymore." She swallowed, eyes darting away. "I don't know what you mean." I sighed and reached into my pocket, pulling out the tiny recorder. Her eyes widened. "Dad, what is that?" "I talked to Ethan, and I recorded it." She froze. "No, no, no, why would you do that?" she said in a whisper, shaking her head so fast her hair fell over her face. "Because he told me," I said slowly, "that he controls you, that he fixes you when you step out of line." Her breath hitched, her hands trembled. "He said that?" she whispered. "Yes," I answered, "and I have proof." For a moment, she stared blankly at the floor. Then her chest rose sharply, and she covered her face with her palms. And she cried. Not the quiet crying from inside her house, not the controlled tears she tried so hard to hide. This was raw, unrestrained, pain that had been locked inside her for months, finally spilling out. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't want you to get involved. I didn't want him to hurt you." "Emily," I said, pulling her into my arms, "he will never touch you, and he should never touch you." She sobbed harder. "I thought I could fix him," she whispered. "He wasn't like this when we dated. He changed after we married. He started telling me who I could talk to, then what I could wear. Then he got angry over small things." I closed my eyes, fighting the rage rising inside me. "Emily," I said softly, "he's abusing you, and it's not your fault." She shook her head. "He says it is." "Of course he does. That's how people like him work." She looked up, eyes swollen and red. "What do we do now?" I held her hand, squeezing gently. "Now," I said, "we get you out. And then?" "And then we expose him." She took a shaky breath. For the first time, I saw something return to her eyes. Courage. Ethan had controlled her for months, but now she had her father beside her, and the truth was no longer hidden. My name is James, and helping my daughter escape her own home felt like planning a secret operation behind enemy lines. Emily couldn't go back to Ethan with swollen eyes. He'd interrogate her, so we planned carefully. "We need to get my things," she said nervously. "If I leave without them, he'll know. Then we'll get them. But on our terms," I said. We waited until evening. Ethan worked late on Mondays, something Emily knew from his rigid schedule. She said he hated unpredictability, hated deviation, hated anything he didn't control. Perfect. Predictable people are easy to outsmart. We drove quietly to her house. I parked several houses away. Emily wore a hoodie and kept her head down. Her hands shook as she held the spare key. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know," I said softly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "But I'm right here." We slipped inside the house. It smelled like his expensive cologne. Sharp, suffocating, a scent that seemed to swallow the room. Emily flinched at it. 10 minutes, I whispered. "Take what you need." She moved fast. Clothes, her laptop, a few photos, important documents. She avoided touching anything Ethan might notice missing. While she packed, I walked into the kitchen. That's when I saw it. A list. Pinned to the fridge. Rules for Emily. No phone calls without permission. No visits to father. No outings alone. No disrespectful tone. No speaking during his work hours. No makeup unless approved. No complaining. My hands shook with rage. I took a picture of it. Proof. Again. Just then, I heard footsteps. Emily rushed toward me, panic written across her face. "He's early." My blood went cold. We dashed toward the back door just as the front lock clicked. Emily froze. "If he sees us—" "He won't," I whispered. "Go." We slipped out the back, crouching low behind the hedge as Ethan walked inside. His voice echoed through the house. "Emily! Emily!" She shook violently beside me. I held her close, whispering, "Stay still, breathe." He walked room to room. Then I heard something heavy slam. A cabinet door? A wall? I wasn't sure. But the fury in his voice made her flinch. After what felt like an eternity, he stormed upstairs. Now. We moved silently to the car, Emily nearly collapsing into the passenger seat. I drove us away without headlights until we reached the main road. She cried the entire way back to my house. But they weren't the same tears as before. They were tears of freedom. That night, Emily slept in her old childhood room, safe for the first time in months. While she slept, I looked at the recordings, the photos, the evidence. I knew exactly what I had to do next. Expose Ethan and end his control forever. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful life lessons and true-to-heart stories. My name is James, and when a man tries to destroy your child's life, you don't sit quietly. You face him, head on. The next morning, Ethan called Emily 30 times. He left messages, furious, frantic, threatening. "You better be home when I get back. Where are you? Don't make me angry. If your father is involved, he'll regret it." I listened to every message, each one making the fire inside me burn hotter. Finally, I called him back. He answered on the first ring. "James," he snarled, "where is she?" "She's safe." "You have no right. She's my wife." "She's my daughter," I said calmly, "and she's done living under your control." He laughed, a loud, manic laugh. "You think you can take her from me? She needs discipline, James. I was helping her be better." My hands tightened around the phone. "She doesn't need discipline," I said slowly. "She needs freedom." He scoffed. "She's coming home. I'll pick her up in 1 hour. If you try to stop me—" I cut him off. "Ethan, before you say anything else, I want you to hear something." I played the recording from the park. His own voice spilled out of the speaker. "Emily is under my control, and if she steps out of line, I fix it." Silence. Then, "You sneaky old—" I stopped the recording. "I also have the picture of your rules, and the voice messages, and the bruises, and Emily's written statement." "You can't prove anything," he snapped, voice quivering. "Oh, I can prove plenty, and I already showed them to someone." He swallowed. "Who?" "The police." Dead silence. I continued. "You're finished, Ethan. You won't go near her again, you won't call her again, and if you even step foot on this street, you'll be arrested before you make it to the driveway." Then I delivered the final blow. "And tomorrow morning, Emily files for divorce." His breathing grew heavy, ragged, panicked. "This isn't over," he whispered. "It is," I said, "and you ended it yourself." He hung up. For the first time in months, I felt light, like I'd finally opened the door to the darkness and let the sun in. But the real victory wasn't the evidence. It wasn't the confrontation. It was the realization that Emily had broken free of him. And that was worth every second of fear and fury I'd endured. My name is James, and this is how the truth set my daughter free. The next morning, I drove Emily to the police station. She looked nervous but determined. She held my hand the whole way. Inside, the officers reviewed everything: the recordings, the notes, the messages, the photos of bruises she finally agreed to take. It was more than enough. They issued a protective order immediately. Emily's voice trembled as she signed it, but she didn't hesitate. When we stepped outside, she took a deep breath, like it was the first real breath she'd taken in months. That afternoon, we met with a lawyer. Emily filed for divorce. He said with the evidence we had, Ethan wouldn't stand a chance. The next few days were tense. Ethan tried calling from unknown numbers, tried emailing, tried sending messages through mutual friends. But the order was clear: no contact. Finally, one evening, there was a knock on my door. A police officer stood there. "We have an update," he said. "Ethan has been arrested for violating the protective order." Emily's eyes widened. He came to the house?" The officer nodded. "He tried to enter your residence. We stopped him before he got close." Emily's knees buckled slightly, but I caught her. "He can't hurt you anymore," I whispered. She sobbed, not out of fear, out of relief. Over the next month, things changed. Slowly, beautifully. Emily started smiling again, real smiles. She began cooking her favorite dishes, planting flowers in my backyard, reading books she hadn't touched in years. One night, she sat with me on the porch, the sunset painting the sky gold. "Dad," she said softly, "thank you for coming back, even when he told you not to." I looked at her, stronger, braver, free. "Emily," I said, "if you ever call for me, in fear, in pain, in joy, I'll always come back. There's nothing on this earth that could keep me away from my daughter." She rested her head on my shoulder. "You saved me," she whispered. "No," I said, wrapping an arm around her. "You saved yourself. I just showed up with the truth. And that truth destroyed a monster. That truth brought my daughter home. That truth reminded me that a father's love is stronger than fear, silence, or control. My name is James, and when my new son-in-law told me to stay away, I returned with the truth, and the truth won." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful life lessons and true-to-heart stories.